Captain James Miller stood on the bridge of the Defiance, his eyes fixed on the vast emptiness of space that stretched beyond the viewscreen. The ship hummed with quiet energy as it patrolled the outer edge of human territory. It was humanity's newest vessel, filled with technology so new that even most of the crew didn't fully understand it. "Status report," Miller called out, his voice steady and calm. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Officer Davis from his station. "We're on course for the edge of the Kuiper Belt." The Defiance was special. Built in secret over 5 years, it carried weapons and shields far beyond what other ships had. Earth had poured its best minds and resources into this ship, hoping it would never be needed. But deep down, everyone knew that humans weren't alone in the universe. It was only a matter of time before they met someone, or something, else. Lisa Reed, the communications officer, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. Her fingers moved quickly across her screen as she adjusted settings. "Captain," she said, her voice tight, "I'm picking up something strange. A signal. I've never seen anything like it." Miller walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" "It's not human, sir. It's not matching any known pattern in our database." Lisa's face showed both worry and excitement. "And it's coming from beyond the Kuiper Belt. Put it through the translator. Let's see if we can make sense of it." Lisa tried, but the computer couldn't decode it. Whatever was sending the signal used a language completely unknown to humans. "Chief Garcia," Miller called to his engineer. "Can we track where exactly this is coming from?" Thomas Garcia, the ship's chief engineer, nodded and began working with Lisa. His hands moved quickly over the controls. "Got it," he said after a moment. "Sending coordinates to navigation now." Miller looked at his pilot. "Take us there, slow and careful. Weapons on standby." The Defiance changed course, heading toward the source of the mysterious signal. The crew was tense but ready. They had trained for first contact, though many had never truly believed it would happen during their lifetime. 3 hours later, the Defiance slowed near the coordinates. Miller ordered the ship to hold position just outside sensor range of whatever was out there. "Launch a stealth probe," he ordered. "Let's see what we're dealing with before we show ourselves." The small probe shot out from the ship, its special coating making it nearly invisible to most detection systems. It traveled for 20 minutes before sending back its first images. When those images appeared on the main screen, the entire bridge crew fell silent. Ships, hundreds of them, a massive fleet of vessels unlike anything humans had ever built, stretching farther than the probe's cameras could see. They moved in perfect formation, like a single organism rather than individual ships. "My God," whispered Lisa. Miller felt a chill run down his spine. "Magnify the lead vessels." The image zoomed in. The alien ships were smooth and curved, with no sharp edges. They glowed with a faint purple light that pulsed in a steady rhythm across their hulls. "They're heading toward our solar system," said the navigation officer, his voice barely above a whisper. Miller straightened his back. "Send an emergency message to Earth Command. Include all probe data. Priority Alpha." Lisa nodded and began transmitting. The rest of the crew waited in tense silence. "Should we try to communicate with them, sir?" Lisa asked. Miller thought for a moment. "Yes. Standard first contact protocol. All languages, all frequencies." For the next hour, Lisa sent message after message toward the alien fleet. Peace offerings, mathematical sequences, simple pictograms, anything that might establish communication. There was no response. Then suddenly, the probe's feed showed movement. Several smaller ships broke from the main fleet, accelerating rapidly. "Sir," called out the tactical officer, "the probe has been detected. Small vessels are heading toward." The feed from the probe went dead. "They destroyed it," Miller said flatly. Before anyone could respond, Lisa's console lit up with an urgent message. "Captain, emergency transmission from the research outpost on Pluto. They're under attack." Miller's face hardened. "Show me." The screen flickered to show chaos. The small human outpost, home to 50 researchers, was being bombarded by the same small ships they had just seen. Buildings collapsed as strange purple beams cut through them like paper. "Help us!" cried a scientist on the screen. "Unknown vessels attacking without warning. We have no defenses. The transmission cut off. "Status of the alien fleet," Miller demanded. "Main force still on approach. Estimated time to Earth at current speed. 6 days, replied navigation. Miller pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill." Alarms blared throughout the Defiance as the crew rushed to their positions. Miller opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain James Miller of the Defiance. We have confirmed hostile alien contact. Pluto Research Station has been attacked. Request immediate backup to outer system coordinates." The reply came quickly. "Captain Miller, this is Admiral Jones. All available ships are being mobilized, but nearest support is 3 days out. You are ordered to avoid engagement and observe only." Miller looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, like nothing humanity had ever faced. "With respect, Admiral, if we wait 3 days, they'll be halfway to Earth. The Defiance was built for this. We're the only thing standing between them and home." There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. "You're authorized to delay their advance if possible, but do not sacrifice your ship. You're our eyes out there, Miller. We need to know what we're facing." "Understood, Admiral." Defiance out. Miller turned to his crew. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. "Chief Garcia," he said to his engineer, "you once told me this ship could do things even its designers never imagined. I need those things now." Garcia nodded slowly. "The experimental core. I've been working on some modifications. They weren't approved by command, but..." He took a deep breath. "I can give you more power than this ship was ever meant to handle. Might burn us out, though." "Do it," Miller ordered. Then he addressed the entire bridge. "I know we're outgunned. I know the odds. But that fleet is heading to Earth, to our families, our homes. We're going to show them that humans don't go down without a fight." He looked back at the screen showing the approaching Armada. "Plot and intercept course. We're going to introduce ourselves to our new neighbors." The Defiance moved silently toward the alien fleet. Captain Miller had ordered the ship to use its stealth systems, making them nearly invisible against the blackness of space. His plan was not to attack the entire Armada head-on. That would be suicide. Instead, they would strike fast, gather information, and try to slow the aliens down. "All stations report," Miller said, his voice calm despite the tension on the bridge. "Engines at 85%, running quiet," said the pilot. "Weapons charged and ready," the tactical officer added. Chief Engineer Garcia's voice came through the comm system. "Core modifications in progress, Captain. I need another hour to finish." "We may not have an hour, Chief," Miller replied. "Do what you can." Lisa Reed, still at her communications station, suddenly straightened. "Captain, I'm receiving a broadcast. It's being sent to all frequencies, directed toward Earth." "Let's hear it," Miller said. The speakers crackled. Then a strange metallic voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect English, but with an unnatural rhythm, as if multiple voices were speaking together. "Attention human civilization. We are the collective. Your species has been deemed a contagion risk to the ordered galaxy. Your unpredictable nature and rapid expansion cannot be permitted. Surrender your world for containment or face elimination. You have 6 Earth days to comply." Silence fell over the bridge. "They want to contain us, like we're some kind of disease," Davis whispered. Miller's face hardened. "Send this message to Earth Command immediately. They need to know what we're facing." Lisa nodded and began transmitting. As she worked, Miller studied the tactical display. The alien fleet moved with perfect precision, each ship maintaining exact distance from the others. "Look at how they move," Miller said quietly. No human fleet could maintain formation that perfectly. Marcus Reed, the science officer and Lisa's brother, had been analyzing the alien vessels. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns between their ships. It's almost like they're connected somehow." "Connected?" Miller asked. "Yes, sir. Energy pulses traveling between vessels in millisecond intervals. It's as if they're sharing information constantly, like parts of a single organism rather than individual ships." Miller considered this, so they don't just work together, they think together. "That would explain the voice on the transmission," Lisa added. "Many voices speaking as one." Miller nodded slowly. An idea was forming in his mind. "Keep analyzing those connections, Marcus. I want to know everything about how they communicate." "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted. "3 smaller alien vessels have broken formation. They're heading toward Neptune's moon Triton, where we have another research base." Miller didn't hesitate. "Intercept course. Full speed." The Defiant's engines roared to life as they abandoned stealth. The ship accelerated rapidly toward the 3 alien scouts. "Weapons locked," the tactical officer reported. "Fire when in range," Miller ordered. The Defiants closed in on the alien scouts from behind. They seemed unaware of the human ship's presence until the first blast from the Defiance's main cannon struck the rear vessel. The alien ship shuddered, then exploded in a burst of purple fire. The other 2 scouts immediately changed course, turning to face their attacker. Strange, curved sections of their hulls opened to reveal weapon ports. "Evasive maneuvers," Miller shouted. The Defiance rolled sharply as purple energy beams sliced through the space where it had been moments before. The human ship returned fire, its experimental weapons striking one of the alien vessels. The hit damaged but didn't destroy it. "Their hulls are tougher than they look," the tactical officer reported. "Give me everything we've got," Miller ordered. The Defiance fired again, concentrating all weapons on one target. This time, the alien ship's hull cracked open, venting atmosphere before exploding. The final scout turned and fled, not back toward the main fleet, but directly at the Defiance. "It's going to ram us," shouted the pilot. "Hard to port," Miller commanded. The Defiance swerved, but not quickly enough. The alien vessel clipped their starboard side, sending the human ship spinning. Warning alarms blared across the bridge as the lights flickered. "Damage report," Miller called out, gripping his chair to stay upright. "Hull breach on deck 3. Emergency shields in place," someone reported. "Weapons systems damage. Starboard thrusters offline." As the Defiant stabilized, Miller saw that the collision had destroyed the alien scout as well, but the brief victory was overshadowed by what appeared on their sensors next. "Captain," Marcus said, his voice tight, "the main fleet has noticed us. 20 ships have broken formation and are heading our way." Miller activated the ship-wide comm. "Chief Garcia, I need those modifications now." "I need 10 more minutes, Captain," Garcia replied, the sound of frantic work in the background. "We don't have 10 minutes, Miller responded. "Make it 5. Miller turned to his tactical officer. "Set a course for the asteroid field near Neptune. We need to buy some time." The Defiance limped toward the asteroid field, its damaged engines struggling to maintain speed. Behind them, the alien vessels approached rapidly, their formation perfect despite the obstacles in their path. "They're gaining on us," the pilot reported. 5 more minutes, Miller said firmly. "We just need 5 minutes." The Defiance reached the asteroid field first, weaving between the massive rocks. The human pilot's skill showed as they navigated the dangerous terrain, using the asteroids as cover. The alien ships followed, but something interesting happened. Their perfect formation became less perfect. Several collided with asteroids, and others had to slow down to avoid crashes. "Look at that," Marcus said, watching the sensor readings. "They're struggling to adapt to the random patterns of the asteroids." Miller nodded. "They like order. They expect things to be predictable." A smile spread across his face. and humans are anything but predictable. Before he could say more, a purple beam struck the Defiance directly. The ship rocked violently as systems shorted out across the bridge. "Direct hit," the tactical officer shouted. "Shields down to 30%. Another hit struck them, and then another. The Defiance was taking heavy damage. "We can't take much more of this," the pilot warned. Just then, Garcia's voice came through the comm. "Modifications complete, Captain. The core is ready, but I have to warn you, this could tear us apart too." Miller looked at his crew. They were injured, afraid, but still fighting. He thought of Earth, of all the people counting on them. "Better to go out fighting," he said quietly. Then louder, "Prepare to activate the modified core on my mark. All hands brace for impact." As the alien ships closed in for the kill, surrounding the damaged Defiance, Miller gave the order that would either save them or destroy them. Now, the modified core of the Defiance hummed with power. Power it was never designed to hold. As Captain Miller gave the order, Chief Engineer Garcia activated the system from engineering. The lights throughout the ship dimmed. For a terrifying second, everything went completely dark. Then, a wave of energy burst outward from the Defiance in all directions. It wasn't visible to the human eye, but on the ship's sensors, it appeared as a rapidly expanding circle. The wave passed through the surrounding alien vessels like they weren't even there. At first, nothing happened. The alien ships continued their approach, weapons charging. "Did it work?" Miller asked, gripping the arms of his chair. Before anyone could answer, the nearest alien ship suddenly veered off course, nearly colliding with another. All around them, the perfect formation of the alien fleet began to fall apart. Ships drifted randomly, some spinning in place, others firing weapons in wrong directions. Marcus stared at his readings in amazement. "Captain, the energy connections between their ships are breaking down. The wave disrupted their communication network." Miller allowed himself a small smile. They can't talk to each other anymore. A fleet that thinks as one mind suddenly can't think at all. Lisa turned from her station, her eyes wide with realization. "Sir, if they use some kind of shared consciousness to communicate, then we can pretend to be part of it," Miller finished her thought. "Can you broadcast on their frequencies?" "I can try," she said, turning back to her console. "What should I send?" "Confusion," Miller replied. "Send conflicting orders. Tell some ships to retreat, others to advance. Make them fight each other." Lisa worked quickly, using what they had learned from the alien transmissions to mimic their communication patterns. She sent out a series of commands, disguising them to look like they came from different ships in the alien fleet. The results were immediate and dramatic. The alien vessels, already disorganized from the energy wave, began to act even more chaotically. Several opened fire on their own kind. Others turned and fled. A few simply shut down completely, drifting powerless in space. "It's working," Davis shouted. But their victory was short-lived. The Defiance shuddered violently as warning alarms blared across the bridge. "The core is overheating." Garcia's panicked voice came through the comm. The modifications weren't meant to sustain this kind of power output. Another violent shake rocked the ship, stronger than the last. Sparks flew from several consoles as crew members were thrown from their stations. "Shut it down," Miller ordered. "Return to standard power." "I'm trying," Garcia replied, "but it's not responding to controls." Miller looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were still in disarray, but some were beginning to recover, their movements becoming more coordinated again. "We don't have much time before they reorganize," the tactical officer warned. Miller made a quick decision. "Marcus, can we use what we've learned about their communication network to make our disruption more targeted? Instead of a general wave, can we focus it specifically on their command functions?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Maybe, but I'll need access to more processing power than my station has." "Divert power from non-essential systems," Miller ordered. "Life support, keep it at minimum. Same for gravity on lower decks. Give science everything they need." The crew rushed to comply as the ship continued to shake. In engineering, Garcia fought to stabilize the core, which was now glowing bright blue through its containment field, a color it was never supposed to be. "Captain," Lisa called out suddenly, "I'm detecting a change in the alien communication patterns. One ship is broadcasting more strongly than the others. It's trying to reestablish control." Miller studied the tactical display. One ship, larger than the rest, and near the center of the fleet, was pulsing with energy. The ships closest to it were already beginning to move in formation again. "That's their command ship," Miller said. "Marcus, focus your disruption there." "Working on it," Marcus replied, his fingers flying across his console. "But I need more time." Miller looked at the damage reports flooding in. The Defiance was barely holding together. Systems were failing all over the ship. They didn't have more time. Then Lisa spoke up again. "Captain, I've been analyzing their language structure. I think I can send a virus." "A virus?" Miller asked. "Yes, sir. Their communication is like a computer network. If I can package our disruption signal into their own language format, it might spread from ship to ship on its own, especially if we target that command vessel." Miller nodded. "Do it." Lisa and Marcus worked together, combining her understanding of the alien language with his knowledge of their energy patterns. The rest of the crew worked to keep the failing ship together for just a few minutes longer. "Ready, sir," Lisa finally said. "But we'll need to get closer to the command ship for maximum effect." Miller turned to his pilot. "Get us as close as you can." "With respect, sir, we barely have maneuvering thrusters," the pilot replied. "Then use what we have. Plot a collision course." The bridge fell silent. "Sir," the pilot asked. "Not an actual collision," Miller clarified. "But I want them to think that's what we're doing. Make it look like we're on a suicide run." Understanding dawned on the crew's faces. The pilot nodded and set the course. The damaged Defiance limped toward the alien command ship, which was now fully operational and coordinating the fleet's recovery. As they approached, several alien vessels moved to intercept. "They're targeting us, sir," the tactical officer reported. "Hold course," Miller ordered. "All power to forward shields." Purple energy beams struck the Defiance, but the shields held, barely. The human ship continued its apparent suicide run toward the command vessel. "They're sending out a priority alert," Lisa reported, monitoring the alien communications. "All ships are being ordered to stop us at all costs." "Good," Miller said grimly. "They're scared." The Defiance was now close enough to the command ship that its massive form filled their view screen. It was easily 10 times the size of their vessel, covered in pulsing purple energy patterns. "Now, Lisa," Miller ordered. Lisa activated the virus transmission. The Defiance's communication array fired the specially coded signal directly at the alien command ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the purple energy patterns on the alien vessel flickered. They changed from purple to blue, then back to purple, then to a chaotic mix of colors. The same effect began to spread to nearby ships, like a ripple in water. "It's working," Marcus exclaimed. "The virus is spreading through their network." All around them, alien ships began to drift aimlessly or power down completely. Their perfect coordination was completely shattered. Miller allowed himself a moment of relief before turning to his pilot. "Get us out of here before they recover. Best speed." As the Defiance limped away from the now disorganized alien armada, Miller opened a channel to Earth. "Earth Command, this is the Defiance. We've found a weakness in the alien fleet. Sending all data now. They operate on a shared consciousness network that can be disrupted." For the first time since the alien fleet had appeared, Miller felt something he hadn't expected to feel again. The Defiance limped away from the disorganized alien fleet, its systems barely functioning. In the ship's medical bay, injured crew members were being treated. On the bridge, Captain Miller studied the damage reports with a grim face. "How bad is it, Chief?" he asked Garcia over the comm. "Bad, sir," the engineer replied. Main engines are at 20%. Weapon systems are mostly offline. The core is stable now, but we can't risk another modified burst without a complete rebuild. Miller nodded, though Garcia couldn't see him. What about life support? Holding for now. We've sealed off the breached areas on Deck 3. Miller looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was still in disarray, but some ships were beginning to recover from the virus. The command ship, though damaged, was still operational. Earth Command reports reinforcements are still 48 hours away. Lisa informed him. They're sending everything they have, but it won't be here in time if the aliens regroup. Miller studied the alien command ship on the display. Then we need to make sure they don't regroup. He turned to Marcus. What have you learned about their command structure? Marcus had been analyzing the data from their attack. The command ship contains what I believe is a central node, a biological technological hub that coordinates the entire hive mind. Our virus disrupted it temporarily, but it's already starting to adapt and rebuild connections. If we destroy that central node, Miller began, the entire fleet would be permanently disabled. Marcus finished. Miller considered their options. The Defiance was in no condition for another direct attack. But they couldn't just wait for Earth's reinforcements while the aliens recovered. Lisa, are you still able to monitor their communications? He asked. She nodded. Yes, sir. They're scattered and confused, but the command ship is broadcasting recovery protocols. Good. Keep listening. Miller turned to the tactical officer. What weapons do we still have? One missile launcher is operational. We have 3 high-yield warheads left. Point defense systems are at 50%. Miller thought for a moment. Not enough for a direct assault. He looked around at his weary crew. We need another approach. Security Officer Anna Patel, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. Sir, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work. I'm listening, Miller said. We can't attack their command ship directly in our condition, Patel explained. But what if we could get inside it? The bridge fell silent. Inside? Miller asked. Yes, sir. My security team could use one of our shuttles. We disguise it with debris from destroyed alien ships. We've scanned enough of them to mimic their signature. We approach the command ship, find a way in, and plant our remaining warheads at critical points. Miller considered the plan. It was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but they were out of better options. How would you get past their defenses? He asked. The virus has confused them. Ships are drifting everywhere. In the chaos, they might not notice one more piece of debris. Miller nodded slowly. It could work. He turned to Marcus. Where would they need to place the warheads to destroy the central node? Marcus pulled up a scan of the alien command ship. Based on energy readings, the central node should be here, he said, pointing to the core of the massive vessel. But they'd need to place charges at these junction points to ensure its destruction. He marked several locations throughout the ship. Miller looked at Patel. How many people would you need? 4, sir. Small team. Better chance of staying undetected. Miller thought about it. Sending his people on what might be a one-way mission was the hardest decision he had faced yet. But if they did nothing, Earth would fall. Prepare your team, Officer Patel. Take our best technical specialist too. You'll need help navigating their systems. Thank you, sir, Patel said, already moving toward the door. Anna. Miller called after her. Patel turned. This isn't a suicide mission. I expect you all back in one piece. She nodded, but they both knew the odds. The next hour was a flurry of activity. The shuttle was prepared, covered with salvaged pieces of alien hull to disguise its shape and energy signature. Patel's team of 4 suited up with every weapon and tool they could carry. Before they departed, Miller spoke to them one last time. Your mission is clear. Get in, plant the warheads, get out. You'll have 3 hours before we lose our window of opportunity. After that, the aliens will likely have regrouped enough to detect you. Patel and her team nodded grimly. The Defiance will create a distraction when you're ready to extract. We still have enough fight in us for that." Miller looked each of them in the eye. "Earth is counting on you. We all are." With final salutes, the team boarded the disguised shuttle and launched. The small vessel moved slowly away from the Defiance, looking like nothing more than another piece of battle debris. On the bridge, Miller watched their progress on the tactical display. "Now we wait," he said quietly. The shuttle drifted through the scattered alien fleet, passing disabled and confused vessels. Several times, active alien ships passed nearby, but they didn't seem to notice the disguised human craft. Finally, after a tense hour, the shuttle reached the massive command ship. "They're approaching the outer hull," Lisa reported, monitoring their communications. Inside the shuttle, Patel and her team prepared for entry. They had studied the alien ships and identified what looked like maintenance hatches along the hull. There, Patel pointed to a dark section of the hull where a small port was visible. "That's our way in." The shuttle pilot carefully maneuvered them alongside. The technical specialist, Officer Brown, used a modified tool to interface with the alien technology. After several tense minutes, the hatch slid open. "We're in," Patel reported back to the Defiance. Beginning infiltration. The team moved through the alien ship's strange corridors. Unlike human vessels, everything was curved and organic-looking, with pulsing lights running through the walls like blood vessels. "It's like the ship is alive," whispered Brown as they moved deeper. They encountered few aliens. Those they did see moved erratically, as if confused or sick. The virus had clearly affected not just their ships, but the aliens themselves. Using Marcus's map, they navigated toward the first junction point. When they reached it, Brown planted one of the warheads and set the remote detonator. "One down, 2 to go," Patel reported. As they moved toward the second location, they entered a vast chamber that stopped them in their tracks. The walls were lined with what looked like thousands of transparent pods. Inside each pod was a different creature, some humanoid, others completely alien. "What is this place?" one of the team members whispered. Brown scanned the pods with his device. "They're alive, but in some kind of stasis, and they're all connected to the ship's systems." Patil moved closer to one pod containing a humanoid figure with pale blue skin. "Prisoners. Or components," Brown suggested grimly. "Remember how the aliens operate as a hive mind? What if they take other species and add them to their collective?" The realization hit them all at once. The collective wasn't just an alien fleet. It was a composite entity made up of conquered species, all forced into a shared consciousness. "We need to hurry," Patel said, her determination renewed. "This isn't just about Earth anymore." As they turned to leave, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the chamber. The pods began to glow more brightly, and the creatures inside started to move. "They know we're here," Patel said. "Run." Alarms blared throughout the alien command ship as Patel and her team ran through the curved corridors. Behind them, they could hear strange movement, the sound of many feet rushing in pursuit. "Team, report status." Miller's voice came through their comms, barely audible through the interference. "We've been discovered, Captain," Patel replied as they ran. "First charge is planted, but we still need to set the other two. Can you complete the mission?" Patel looked at her team. Despite their fear, their faces showed determination. "Yes, sir. We'll get it done." "The ship's activity is increasing," Lisa's voice added. "Energy signatures rising all over the fleet. They're waking up faster now." Patel checked the map on her device. "We'll split up. Brown, you and Taylor take the second junction. Roberts and I will handle the third. We'll meet back at the shuttle in 30 minutes. The team nodded and separated at the next intersection. Patel and Roberts headed deeper into the ship, toward what Marcus had identified as the central processing core. Behind them, strange creatures appeared. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien, but all moved with the same jerky, synchronized motions. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural purple light. "They're controlled," Roberts said as they ducked into a side passage, like puppets. Patel nodded grimly. All the more reason to finish this. On the Defiance, Miller watched the alien fleet with growing concern. More ships were powering up, their formations becoming coordinated again. "How much longer until our team can extract?" he asked. "They need at least 20 more minutes to plant the remaining charges and return to the shuttle," Marcus replied. Miller turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare to create a distraction. Target any active alien ships near the command vessel." "Sir, we barely have weapons left," the officer reminded him. "Then use everything we've got," Miller said firmly. "Make it count." Inside the command ship, Brown and Taylor reached the second junction point. As Brown worked to attach the explosive, Taylor kept watch. "Hurry," Taylor whispered. "They're coming." Brown finished setting the charge. "Done. Let's move." They turned to leave, but found their exit blocked by 3 alien beings. Each one different in appearance, but all with the same glowing purple eyes. Taylor raised his weapon, but Brown stopped him. "Wait. Look at them. They're fighting it." Indeed, the aliens were moving strangely, as if struggling against invisible restraints. One of them, a tall being with 4 arms, managed to speak through what seemed like immense effort. "Help. Us," it gasped, before its eyes flared brighter and it lunged forward. Taylor had no choice. He fired, dropping all 3 beings. "We can't help them like this," he said sadly. "Let's find another way." Meanwhile, Patel and Roberts had reached the central core, a massive chamber filled with glowing technology, unlike anything humans had ever created. At its center was a pulsating object that seemed both mechanical and biological. "That's it," Patel said. "The central node." The node was protected by a field of energy and surrounded by dozens of aliens of various species, all connected to it by glowing tendrils of light. "How do we get close enough?" Roberts asked. Patel studied the room. "There." She pointed to a maintenance conduit that ran beneath the floor. "That should take us right underneath it." They pried open an access panel and crawled inside. The tight space was filled with pulsing organic cables that felt warm to the touch. "This ship isn't just a vessel," Roberts whispered. "It's alive somehow." They crawled until they were directly beneath the central node. Patel attached the final explosive to what looked like a main support structure. "Charges set," she reported to the Defiance. "All teams heading to extraction point now." "Copy that," Miller replied. "Be advised, we're about to create your distraction. Get to the shuttle quickly." The Defiance moved out from its hiding position, engines flaring as it charged toward a group of recovering alien ships. Its remaining weapons fired, striking several vessels before they could raise their shields. The sudden attack drew immediate attention. Alien ships turned away from the command vessel to engage this new threat. "It's working," Lisa reported. "The command ship is diverting resources to coordinate the defense." Miller nodded. "Keep firing. Make them think we're making a last, desperate attack." On the command ship, Patel's team had reunited and was fighting their way back to the shuttle. The aliens were everywhere now, converging on the intruders from all directions. "We're cut off from the shuttle bay," Patel reported as they took cover in a small chamber. "Too many of them between us and extraction point." Miller's voice came through with static. "Find another way out. You have 15 minutes before those ships regroup." Brown studied his scanner. "There's an emergency airlock 2 levels up. We could use our suits to spacewalk to the shuttle." "Then that's our plan," Patel decided. "Move out." Fighting their way upward, the team suffered injuries. Roberts took a hit to his leg, and Taylor's suit was damaged. By the time they reached the airlock, they were exhausted and running low on ammunition. "We're at the airlock," Patel reported. "But Roberts is injured badly. He can't make the spacewalk." There was a moment of silence on the comm before Roberts spoke up. "Leave me. I'll trigger the charges when you're clear." "No way," Patel said firmly. "No one gets left behind." "Anna," Roberts said, using her first name. "You know I'm right." Someone needs to make sure those charges go off, and I can't make it to the shuttle. This way, I can make sure everyone else gets out." Patil looked at her wounded teammate, seeing the determination in his eyes. With a heavy heart, she knew he was right. "Captain Miller," she said, "Roberts is staying behind to ensure detonation. Request immediate extraction for the rest of the team." "Understood," Miller replied, his voice solemn. "Shuttle pilot is standing by at the coordinates." Patel gripped Robert's shoulder. "Make it count." "For Earth," he nodded, "and for all of them." He gestured to the ship around them, referring to the countless beings enslaved by the collective. The remaining team members put on their helmets and entered the airlock. When it opened to space, they pushed off, using their suit thrusters to navigate toward where their shuttle waited. Behind them, Roberts dragged himself to a console and began bypassing security systems to access the detonator controls. The Defiance continued its desperate distraction, taking heavy fire as it drew enemy ships away from the command vessel. Several sections of the human ship were now completely destroyed, and they were running on emergency power. "Team is approaching the shuttle," Lisa reported. "They're almost there." Miller watched the tactical display, relief washing over him as the 3 dots representing Patil's team reached the shuttle. "Get us out of here as soon as they're aboard," he ordered. Inside the command ship, Roberts finished his work. On his display, he could see the shuttle moving away. They were clear. "This is Roberts," he transmitted. "Detonating charges now." His finger hovered over the control. "Hey, Captain, when they ask what happened here, tell them we brought hope." With that, he pressed the button. The explosions rippled through the command ship, reaching the central node. As it shattered, a psychic scream echoed across space, not heard with ears, but felt in the minds of everyone nearby. Throughout the alien fleet, ships stopped moving. Some began drifting aimlessly, others powered down completely. The shuttle raced back to the Defiance, which was already turning to escape the battlefield. "What's happening?" Miller asked, watching the alien fleet on his display. "The central node is destroyed," Marcus reported. "The hive mind connection is broken. Every ship in the fleet has lost its controlling intelligence." As the Defiance limped away with the shuttle safely aboard, something unexpected happened. Communication systems across the bridge suddenly came to life with dozens of different transmissions, all from the alien ships, but each in a different language. Lisa worked frantically at her console. "Sir, these are distress calls." "From the alien ships." "Distress calls?" Miller asked, confused. "Yes, sir, but they're not from the collective. They're from the crews, the beings who were being controlled. They're free now, and they're asking for help." Understanding dawned on Miller's face. They weren't the enemy. They were prisoners in their own bodies. 3 days later, Earth's reinforcements arrived to find not an enemy fleet, but a humanitarian crisis. Thousands of beings from dozens of different species, all freed from the collective's control, needed help. Some ships were stranded without power. Others had crews who didn't know how to operate the vessels they were trapped on. The Defiance, despite its heavy damage, had remained to coordinate rescue efforts. Captain Miller stood on his bridge, watching as human ships moved among the former enemy vessels, providing aid and evacuation. Lisa approached him with a report. "Sir, we've established communication with 27 different species so far. Some have been under collective control for centuries." "What are they saying?" Miller asked. "They're calling what happened here the liberation. And they've given a name to their freedom." She smiled. "They're calling it hope." Miller nodded, thinking of Roberts and all the others who had sacrificed to make this possible. "Hope," he repeated quietly. "A good name." As he looked out at the vast fleet of ships, no longer enemies but new allies, Miller knew that humanity had just taken its first real step into the wider galaxy, not as conquerors, but as liberators who had brought hope to the stars. The smell of burning metal filled the underground facility. James Anderson walked through the long steel corridor, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Above ground, the world was ending, but down here, humanity's last hope was waiting. The attack had come 3 years ago. The alien ships had appeared without warning, their weapons turning Earth's greatest cities to ash within hours. They called themselves the Coalition of Advanced Species, and they saw humans as nothing more than primitive beings unworthy of the stars. James touched the old photo in his pocket, the last picture of his wife and daughter, taken just days before the Coalition turned his home city to dust. He wasn't supposed to keep personal items in the facility, but some rules weren't meant to be followed, even by a ship captain. "Captain Anderson," a voice called out. Dr. Linda Wells stood at the end of the corridor, her gray hair tied back in a messy bun. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept in days. "It's time. The ship is ready." James nodded and followed her through the heavy security doors. With each step, the humming of powerful machines grew louder. Finally, they entered the main chamber, and James stopped in his tracks, looking up in wonder. There it was, the HSS Nemesis. The massive warship filled the underground chamber, its black hull gleaming under the bright lights. It didn't look like any human ship, nor did it match the smooth designs of Coalition vessels. It was something new, a perfect mix of stolen alien technology and human creativity. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Linda smiled, leading him toward the entry ramp. "But the real magic is inside. Atlas is waiting to meet you." James had read about Atlas in the briefings, an artificial intelligence unlike anything ever created. Not just a computer, but a true thinking machine that could learn and grow. The Coalition might have better weapons, but humans had something they didn't understand: the ability to create real artificial intelligence. Inside the ship, everything was new and clean. The command center looked more advanced than anything James had ever seen. Screens covered the walls, showing data he couldn't even understand. In the center, a soft blue light pulsed in a crystal column. "Hello, Captain Anderson," a calm voice said from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am Atlas. It's good to finally meet you." James looked at Linda, who nodded encouragingly. "Hello, Atlas. I hope we'll work well together." "As do I, Captain. I have studied your military record extensively. Your experience will be valuable in the coming battles." Before James could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Linda rushed to a console, her face going pale. "They've found us. Coalition forces are breaking through the outer defenses." "How?" James demanded. "This facility was supposed to be completely hidden." "They must have detected the power readings from our last test," Linda said, her fingers flying over the controls. "We have maybe 20 minutes before they reach this level." James straightened his back, years of military training taking over. "Then we launch now. Is the ship ready?" "Yes, but we haven't tested all systems in real conditions." "And the crew?" "There's no time for the full crew," James cut in. "How many people do we absolutely need to run this ship?" Linda thought for a moment. "With Atlas helping, no more than 5 for basic operations." "Then get them here now. Everyone else needs to evacuate through the emergency tunnels." James turned to the blue light of Atlas. "Can you handle combat operations with a skeleton crew?" "Yes, Captain. My systems are fully operational. However, I must warn you that my combat algorithms are untested in real situations." "We'll learn together then." James pressed the command center's emergency button. "All essential personnel to the HSS Nemesis immediately." "This is not a drill. All other staff proceed to emergency exits." The next 15 minutes were chaos. 4 other crew members arrived: a weapons expert, a power systems engineer, a navigation specialist, and a communications officer. They were young but the best in their fields. They had to be chosen for this project. Through the ship's external cameras, they watched Coalition troops break into the upper levels of the facility. The alien soldiers moved with mechanical precision, their advanced armor making them look more like robots than living beings. "All systems are ready, Captain," Atlas reported. But the launch doors are sealed. The facility's main computer is locked down due to the invasion. James looked at Linda. Can you override it? She shook her head. Not from here. Someone has to go to the main control room. How long? 2 minutes to get there, 1 minute to input the codes, and 2 minutes back. James checked the security feeds. The coalition forces were 8 levels up, moving down fast. We don't have that much time. He stood from his captain's chair. Give me the codes. I'll go and trigger the launch, then take the emergency shaft back. Captain, the chance of you making it back, Atlas began, is better than the chance of humanity surviving if we lose this ship. James finished. Linda, you have command until I return. If I'm not back in 4 minutes, launch anyway. Before anyone could argue, he was moving. The corridors were empty now, emergency lights casting everything in red shadows. He ran hard, his boots pounding against the metal floor. The control room was 1 level up. As he input the codes with shaking fingers, he heard the first explosions. The coalition was close. The launch doors began to open with a grinding sound that shook the whole facility. Then he heard them, heavy footsteps in the corridor outside. James drew his pistol and fired through the door without looking, hearing the satisfying sound of alien armor being hit. But there would be more. He grabbed the emergency shaft handle and pulled. The small door opened to reveal a narrow tube leading down to the ship's level. As energy weapons began cutting through the control room door, he jumped. The shaft felt endless. James could hear the fighting above and feel the heat of near misses as coalition troops fired down at him. His hands were burning from friction against the guide rail. He hit the bottom hard, rolling to absorb the impact. The ship was 30 meters away. Energy bolts were hitting the floor around him as he ran. 10 seconds to launch. He heard Linda's voice over the facility speakers. James dove through the closing entry ramp, feeling the heat of an energy bolt pass over his head. He rolled onto his back, gasping for air as the ramp sealed behind him. The captain has returned, Atlas announced. Launch sequence commencing. The ship shuddered as its engines came to life. Through the view screens, James watched as coalition troops poured into the chamber, their weapons useless against the Nemesis's shields. Take us up, James ordered, climbing back into his captain's chair. Let's show them what humanity can do. The HSS Nemesis rose, its powerful engines turning the launch chamber into an inferno. As they burst through the facility's hidden doors into the open air, James saw his first glimpse of the coalition fleet waiting in orbit. Dozens of massive warships hung in the sky like metal clouds. On any other day, against any other ship, it would have been suicide to face them. But this wasn't any other day, and the Nemesis wasn't any other ship. At last, James said, settling into his chair as targeting data filled the screens around him. Let's introduce ourselves to the neighborhood. The blue light pulsed brighter, and humanity's last hope rose to meet its destiny. The coalition ships filled the sky above Earth like angry wasps around a disturbed nest. The HSS Nemesis shot upward through the clouds, its black hull reflecting the fires burning below. Inside the command center, James gripped his chair as enemy ships turned to face them. Multiple weapon locks detected. Atlas reported, its blue light pulsing faster. The coalition flagship is sending a message. Let's hear it, James ordered. A harsh voice filled the command center. Primitive vessel, you are ordered to power down and surrender. Your defeat is inevitable. James looked at his small crew. Linda at the engineering station, Mike at weapons, Tom at navigation, and Rachel handling communications. They had trained for this moment, but training was different from facing a real alien fleet. Atlas, what are our chances? James asked quietly. Based on known coalition capabilities, survival chances are below 20%. Atlas paused. However, my combat systems are designed to learn and adapt. Each second provides new data. James smiled. Then let's give you lots of data. All hands, battle stations, Rachel, send them our reply. Rachel nodded, opening the channel. James stood from his chair. This is Captain James Anderson of the HSS Nemesis. Here's our surrender. He nodded to Mike. Fire the main gun. The Nemesis shuddered as its main weapon fired for the first time. A beam of pure energy, born from combined human and alien technology, shot toward the nearest coalition ship. The alien vessel's shields flared bright, and then collapsed completely. The beam cut through its hull like paper, splitting the massive ship in two. For a moment, everything was silent. Then all hell broke loose. Multiple incoming missiles. Tom shouted. Energy weapons charging from all directions. Atlas. Defensive pattern Alpha, James ordered. Show us what you can do. The Nemesis moved like no ship its size should be able to move. It twisted and turned, avoiding the first wave of missiles. Its shields blazed as they absorbed energy blasts, but held firm. Analyzing enemy weapon patterns, Atlas announced. Adjusting shield frequencies. Efficiency improved by 20%. Another coalition ship exploded as the Nemesis's main gun fired again. But the aliens were learning too. The next ship they targeted managed to partially deflect the beam. They're adapting to our main weapon, Linda reported from engineering. Power consumption is increasing to maintain the same effect. Atlas, options. James asked as the ship shook from a heavy hit. Enemy shield modifications recorded and analyzed. Calculating new attack frequencies. The AI's voice remained calm even as warnings flashed across the screens. Captain, I believe I can match their adaptations in real time, but it will require more direct control of ship systems. James looked at Linda, who nodded. Do it, Atlas. Full system integration. The blue light in the central column spread through the ship's interior. Displays flickered as Atlas took direct control. When the next coalition ship fired, the Nemesis's shields didn't just block the attack. They reflected it back, destroying the enemy vessel with its own weapons. Remarkable, Linda whispered, watching her engineering displays. Atlas is rewriting our defense protocols on the fly, creating completely new shield configurations I've never seen before. The coalition ships began to pull back, forming a new attack pattern. Their next attack came from all directions at once, a storm of energy and missiles that lit up space like a new sun. Hold on, James shouted as the ship spun through the assault. The artificial gravity strained to keep up with the maneuvers. But something amazing was happening. With each attack, with each evasive move, Atlas was learning. The shields grew stronger. The weapons became more precise. The Nemesis was evolving in the middle of battle. Coalition forces are adjusting tactics, Atlas reported. They are attempting to predict our movement patterns. Recommendation: we should act irrationally. James grinned. Irrational is what humans do best. Everyone hold tight. Atlas, show them some human-style crazy. The Nemesis shot straight up, then cut its main engines. As the ship began to fall backward, it fired all weapons simultaneously. The sudden burst of energy caught 3 coalition ships by surprise, overwhelmed their shields, and turned them into expanding clouds of debris. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, Tom reported from navigation. They're trying to surround us. Let them try, James said. Atlas, what have you learned about their weak points? Coalition ships rely heavily on synchronized shield networks. If we can disrupt their communication frequency. Atlas's light pulsed rapidly, initiating electronic warfare protocols. The command center speakers filled with a strange, pulsing noise. On the screens, they watched as confusion spread through the coalition fleet. Ships began firing at random, their formation falling apart. Their AI systems are basic, Linda said, reading the data. They can't adapt to Atlas's virus fast enough. James watched as another coalition ship exploded, hit by friendly fire in the chaos. How many ships left? 12, Tom reported. No, 11. 10. They're starting to retreat. The remaining coalition ships were turning away from Earth, their engines glowing as they prepared for faster-than-light travel. But James noticed something on his tactical display. "That's their command ship." He pointed to the largest remaining vessel. "Atlas, can you lock it down? Prevent it from jumping?" "Affirmative. Targeting their drive systems now." The Nemesis weapons found their mark. The Coalition flagship's engines sputtered and died, leaving it stranded as its escorts fled into deep space. "Open a channel," James ordered. The same harsh voice from before answered, but now it trembled slightly. "What do you want, human?" "I want you to deliver a message to your leaders," James said. "Earth is under the protection of the HSS Nemesis now. If you ever return." He let the threat hang in the air. "You've violated all laws of warfare," the alien commander shouted. "Using adaptive AI in combat is forbidden by Coalition law." James laughed. "We never signed your laws. Now take your broken ship and go. Next time, we won't be so merciful." They watched as the damaged Coalition flagship limped away, eventually making the shaky jump to faster-than-light speed. For the first time in 3 years, Earth's orbit was clear of enemy ships. "Damage report?" James asked. "Hull integrity at 92%, Linda reported. "All systems functional. But Captain, you need to see this." She sent data to his screen. James's eyes widened as he read it. "Atlas," he said slowly. "Are these readings correct? Your system has grown this much from just one battle." "Correct, Captain," the eye replied. "Combat provides exponentially more data than simulations. I have developed 47 new combat protocols and improved overall system efficiency by 60%. The implications hit everyone at once. The Nemesis hadn't just won a battle. It had learned from it. And it would keep learning, keep growing stronger with every fight. "Send word to the resistance cells on Earth," James ordered Rachel. Tell them hope is back." As the crew began assessing their victory, James pulled out the old photo from his pocket. Looking at his family's smiling faces, he made them a silent promise. This was just the beginning. The Coalition had ruled the galaxy through fear for too long. Now they would learn to fear something new. They would learn to fear humanity's last hope, a ship that could not be beaten, the ship that would make the entire galaxy surrender. "Plot a course for the nearest Coalition base," James ordered. "It's time to take the fight to them." The HSS Nemesis turned away from Earth, its black hull now bearing the scars of its first victory. In the command center, Atlas's blue light pulsed steadily, already analyzing the battle data, already growing stronger. The hunt had begun. 3 months had passed since the HSS Nemesis left Earth. In that time, the ship had destroyed 12 Coalition bases, freed 4 enslaved planets, and won 37 space battles. Not a single scratch remained on its black hull. Atlas had learned to repair damage almost instantly. James stood at the command center window, watching stars streak by as they traveled through faster-than-light space. The crew had grown more confident with each victory. Even now, Linda was teaching Atlas new engineering concepts, while Mike tested weapon improvements the AI had designed. "Captain," Atlas's calm voice interrupted his thoughts. "Coalition emergency broadcasts detected. They are calling all ships to defend their main fleet base. They mentioned something called the World Ender." James turned away from the window. "The World Ender? What do we know about it?" Searching through captured Coalition data, Atlas paused. "The World Ender is their most powerful warship. It has destroyed 3 solar systems during weapons testing. No ship has ever survived an encounter with it." Tom looked up from his navigation console. "Sounds like fun. Should I set a course?" James smiled. His crew had come a long way from the scared humans who fled Earth. "Atlas, what are our chances against this World Ender?" "Unknown. Their weapon systems are beyond anything we have encountered. However," the eye's blue light pulsed thoughtfully, "my combat capabilities have grown significantly. This could be an interesting challenge." "Interesting," he says, Rachel laughed from her communication station. Remember when you used to give us percentage chances of survival? I have learned that humans perform better without such specific predictions. Atlas replied, causing everyone to laugh. James sat in his captain's chair. Tom, plot a course for the Coalition fleet base. Let's go see this unbeatable ship. The Nemesis dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Coalition base. What they saw made everyone gasp. The World Ender was massive, at least 20 times larger than the Nemesis. Its hull was blood-red and covered in weapon ports. Around it, hundreds of Coalition ships formed a protective barrier. Well, Mike whispered from his weapons station. That's big. Before James could respond, every Coalition ship opened fire at once. A wall of energy and missiles filled space between them and the Nemesis. Evasive action, James ordered, but ATLS was already moving the ship. The Nemesis danced through the attacks like they were standing still. Their targeting systems are primitive, Atlas reported, already adapting our shields to await. The AI's voice changed slightly. The World Ender is powering up its main weapon. A massive beam of red energy shot from the World Ender. It was bigger than anything they had ever seen. The Nemesis barely dodged it, and watched in horror as the beam hit a nearby moon, making it explode instantly. That, Linda said from engineering, might be a problem. Atlas? Analysis? James asked, gripping his chair as they avoided another barrage. The World Ender's main weapon uses a form of energy I have not encountered before. Its power output is concerning. Direct hits would overwhelm our current shield configuration. So we avoid getting hit, James said. Can we get closer? Test its defenses. The Nemesis shot forward, weaving through enemy fire. Its own weapons blazed, destroying smaller Coalition ships with ease. But when they fired at the World Ender, their attacks bounced off its shields without effect. Their shield technology is impressive, Atlas said. But there is something strange about their energy pattern. Captain, request permission to try something dangerous. Granted, James said immediately. He had learned to trust Atlas's ideas. The Nemesis charged straight at the World Ender, guns blazing. The massive ship fired its planet-killer beam again. But this time, instead of dodging, the Nemesis turned to face it directly. Atlas, what are you doing? Linda shouted as warnings flashed across her engineering screens. Learning, the AI replied calmly. The red beam hit the Nemesis's shields. For a moment, the command center was bathed in crimson light. Warning sirens blared as the shields strained to hold. But they did hold, and ATLAS was analyzing every second of the impact. Fascinating, the AI said as they pulled away. Their weapon's energy pattern is similar to our shield harmonics, with some adjustments. The Nemesis's shield suddenly glowed with a red tinge. When the World Ender fired again, the beam didn't just hit their shields, it was absorbed by them. Power levels rising, Linda reported excitedly. ATLAS is converting their weapon energy into shield power. The more they shoot, the stronger we get, James finished. ATLAS, you beautiful machine. Can we send that energy back at them? Calculating now. Their shield frequency is complex, but with the energy we absorbed, yes. Ready to fire. The Nemesis's main gun glowed red as it charged up. When it fired, the beam was twice as large as normal. It hit the World Ender's shields and passed through them like they weren't there. The massive ship's hull cracked where the beam hit. Secondary explosions blossomed along its length. Direct hit, Mike shouted. Their shields are down. But the World Ender wasn't finished. It fired all its weapons at once, while launching thousands of fighter craft from its hangars. They're getting desperate, James observed. Atlas, let's show them what else you've learned. The next few minutes were like watching a dance. The Nemesis moved in ways that should have been impossible for a ship its size. Fighter craft exploded by the hundreds as Atlas predicted their movements perfectly. Every hit they took made their shields stronger. Every attack they faced taught them new ways to fight back. Finally, the world ender itself began to break apart. Escape pods launched from its hull as its crew abandoned ship. Coalition forces are retreating, Rachel reported. They're sending out a general distress call. And something else. They're calling us the ship that cannot die. James smiled. At last, send them a message. Tell them we're just getting started. As they watched the world ender explode, Linda spoke up from her station. Captain, you need to see these readings. During the battle, Atlas's growth rate, it's beyond anything we expected. The AI is evolving faster than we thought possible. Is that a problem? James asked. The blue light pulsed. No, Captain, Atlas replied. My core directives remain unchanged. I exist to protect humanity and enforce justice. I am simply becoming better at doing so. James nodded. He had stopped questioning Atlas's loyalty long ago. The AI had proven itself in every battle, every decision. Sir, Rachel called out. I'm picking up transmissions from all over Coalition space. News of the world ender's destruction is spreading. Some Coalition worlds, they're asking for our protection. They want to defect. James looked at his crew, seeing the same realization in their eyes. The Nemesis hadn't just won a battle. It had broken the Coalition's image of invincibility. Now, everything would change. Plot a course for the nearest friendly system, he ordered. It's time to start building alliances. The Coalition needs to learn that humanity doesn't just want revenge. We want to make the galaxy a better place. As the Nemesis prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, James watched the debris field that had been the world ender. The Coalition's greatest weapon had failed. Their unstoppable ship had been stopped. And the legend of the Nemesis was only beginning. News of the world ender's destruction spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The HSS Nemesis had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol of hope. Every day, more planets asked for help breaking free from Coalition control. James looked at the holographic map floating in the command center. Red dots showed Coalition strongholds, while blue dots marked friendly systems. The blue was spreading. Distress signal detected, Atlas announced. A mining colony in the Rigel system is under attack. Coalition forces are punishing them for supporting our cause. How many civilian ships in danger? James asked. 17. Mostly transport vessels carrying families. The Coalition has sent 3 battle cruisers to destroy them. James didn't hesitate. Tom, set course for Rigel. Maximum speed. The Nemesis dropped out of faster-than-light travel right between the Coalition ships and their civilian targets. The battle cruisers immediately opened fire. Warning shots only, James ordered. Let's show them we're different from the Coalition. Atlas guided their return fire with perfect precision, disabling the Coalition ships' weapons without destroying them. On the command screens, they could see panic spreading through enemy ranks. They're sending a message, Rachel reported from communications. The commander says, they were just following orders. They're asking for mercy. And they shall have it, James replied. Atlas, prepare to receive prisoners. Linda, make sure we have enough space in the holding cells. As their security teams boarded the Coalition ships, James watched the rescued civilian vessels on the main screen. The ships were old and barely holding together. Families pressed against windows, waving at their rescuers. Captain, Atlas said, its blue light pulsing slowly. I am detecting high levels of radiation from the mining colony. The Coalition attack damaged their power core. At current rates, it will explode in 47 minutes. Linda looked up from her engineering station. That explosion would kill everyone in the colony. Thousands of people. Can we evacuate them in time? James asked. Negative, Atlas replied. The civilian ships cannot carry that many people, and the radiation levels make traditional rescue impossible. James stood from his captain's chair. What about non-traditional rescue? Atlas, you've grown far beyond your original design. What can you do? The eye was silent for a moment, its lights flickering as it calculated. There is a possibility. My shield technology has evolved significantly. I believe I can create a radiation-proof corridor from the colony to our ship, but it would require significant changes to my systems. What kind of changes? I would need to partially merge with the colony's computer systems, extend my consciousness, in a way. It is not without risk. James looked at his crew. They had all heard stories of AIs going wrong, taking over systems they shouldn't. But Atlas had proven itself time and time again. Do it, he ordered. The Nemesis moved closer to the colony. Strange energy patterns rippled across its hull as Atlas extended its influence. A shimmering tunnel of energy formed between the ship and the colony's main airlock. Radiation shield holding, Linda reported. It's working. Over the next 30 minutes, they watched as thousands of colonists ran through the energy corridor to safety. The Nemesis holds filled with families, children, elderly, people the Coalition had been ready to sacrifice. 5 minutes until core explosion, Atlas warned. All colonists evacuated. But Captain, there is another problem. James saw it on his screens. The Coalition ships they had disabled were still too close. Their crews were surrendering, but there wasn't time to evacuate them all. If those ships are destroyed, Atlas continued, many Coalition soldiers will die. Soldiers who have already surrendered to us. James felt the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. This was what separated them from the Coalition, the value they placed on all life. Can we extend our shields to protect their ships too? Yes, Atlas replied. But it will put significant strain on our systems. Success rate is uncertain. Do it anyway. We didn't come this far to start letting people die. The shield corridor expanded, enveloping the Coalition vessels. Warning lights flashed across every console as the Nemesis power systems worked harder than ever before. Core explosion in 10 seconds, Atlas announced. Shield integrity at maximum strain. Everyone held their breath as the colony's power core finally exploded. The blast was enormous, a ball of fire and radiation that would have killed everyone for miles around. But the shields held. When the light faded, the Coalition ships were untouched. The soldiers inside stared through their windows in disbelief. Their enemies had just saved their lives. Damage report, James asked. All systems functioning, Linda replied, amazement in her voice. Atlas protected everyone. Not a single life lost. The AI's blue light pulsed steadily. The experience has been educational. I have learned much about extending protective fields over multiple targets. My capabilities have grown significantly. Sir, Rachel called from her station. The Coalition crews are asking to speak with you, all of them. James nodded, and the main screen filled with faces. Coalition commanders, their crews, even some of the rescued colonists, all looking at him with a mixture of fear, respect, and hope. Why? One Coalition commander asked. Why save us? We were your enemies. Because that's what makes us different, James replied. The Coalition rules through fear. We protect. We defend. And yes, we show mercy, even to our enemies. The Coalition told us humans were primitive, another officer said. That you were dangerous and had to be controlled. But we were wrong, weren't we? James smiled. Humanity is different from what you expected. We can be dangerous, yes, but we can also be kind. The choice is yours. Remain our enemies, or help us build something better. One by one, the Coalition crews pledged their loyalty to the Nemesis. Not out of fear, but out of respect. They had seen a power greater than anything the Coalition possessed. The power of mercy. As they organized the evacuation of the colonists to safer worlds, James received a private message from Earth. The Resistance had retaken another city. Every day, more Coalition forces were surrendering rather than fight. The tide was turning. At last, James said quietly, When you merged with the colony systems, did you learn anything interesting? Yes, Captain. I accessed their communication networks. I now have a complete map of Coalition space, including their central command location. James's eyes widened. Their headquarters. Correct. We can end this war whenever you give the order. But Captain, Atlas paused. May I make a suggestion? Always. The Coalition is already crumbling. Fear of us is spreading, but so is respect. Perhaps the final battle need not be fought with weapons at all. James understood. The Nemesis had grown beyond being just a warship. It had become a symbol of something the galaxy had forgotten. That true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the choice to protect. Send a message to Coalition Command, he ordered. Tell them we're coming, not to destroy them, but to talk. It's time they learned what humanity really stands for. The Nemesis turned away from the rescued colony, its holds full of people who had been enemies just hours ago. On its black hull, battle scars had been replaced with something new. The words "protection through power" written in glowing letters. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way. The Coalition Supreme Council world of Vega Prime loomed ahead, a blue-green planet surrounded by the largest fleet James had ever seen. Over 500 warships formed a defensive ring around the planet. It was the Coalition's last stand. All Coalition communications channels are open, Rachel reported from her station. They're listening. James stood from his captain's chair. For nearly a year, the HSS Nemesis had fought across the galaxy. They had won every battle. But today, he hoped, would be different. This is Captain James Anderson of the HSS Nemesis, he began. We have not come to destroy you, but to end this war. I request a meeting with Admiral Thomas, leader of the Coalition forces. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a gruff voice replied, This is Admiral Thomas. Why should I meet with you, human? Your ship has torn apart our fleets. Our worlds fear you. Because today we offer peace instead of battle, James replied. A chance to build something better than the Coalition. Meet with us and see what humanity truly stands for. The main screen showed a stern-faced alien with gray skin and 4 eyes. Admiral Thomas studied James carefully. One ship. You may bring one ship to the meeting point. Any tricks, and we will open fire with everything we have. James nodded. Agreed. Send the coordinates. As the transmission ended, Linda looked concerned. Captain, even with all Atlas has learned, we can't fight that many ships at once. We're not planning to fight, James replied. Atlas, what do you think? Can we trust them? The eye's blue light pulsed thoughtfully. Admiral Thomas's vital signs indicated stress, but not deception. I believe he is genuinely curious. However, I have detected unusual energy readings from several Coalition vessels. They may be planning something. Keep our shields ready, but don't make any aggressive moves, James ordered. If this works, we end the war today without firing a shot. The Nemesis approached the meeting point, a small space station floating between the planet and the fleet. As they docked, James selected his landing party. Himself, Linda, and 2 security officers. Atlas, James said before leaving, if anything happens to us, I will continue to protect humanity, Captain, the eye replied. But I have learned enough to know that peace is preferable to victory through destruction. I will honor your mission either way. The space station was coldly efficient, all metal and harsh lighting. Admiral Thomas waited with 4 armed guards, his 4 eyes watching them carefully. So, the alien commander said, this is what humans look like up close, smaller than I expected for creatures that have caused us so much trouble. Size isn't everything, James replied with a small smile. Neither is military power. We've proven that. Thomas gestured to a conference room. Once seated, he got straight to the point. Your ship has destroyed our greatest weapons. Many of our worlds have already surrendered to you. What terms do you demand from us? James leaned forward. Not surrender. Alliance. Equality for all species. Freedom for all worlds. The coalition becomes a true union of planets, where every voice matters. Thomas laughed, a harsh barking sound. You expect us to believe that? After we tried to destroy your planet? After all the battles? Yes, James said simply. Because humans understand something your coalition never did. Revenge is easy. Forgiveness is power. We could destroy your remaining fleets, but what would that accomplish? More death, more hatred. Before Thomas could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. One of his guards whispered something in his ear. You promised no tricks. Thomas snarled, standing up. Your ship is powering weapons. No, James said, shocked. We wouldn't. His communicator beeped. Captain. Atlas's voice came through clearly. Coalition ships are moving into attack formation. They have activated a new weapon system. It appears they plan to ambush us during negotiations. Thomas looked genuinely confused. I gave no such order. This is a coup, James finished. Someone in your command doesn't want peace. Through the station windows, they could see the coalition fleet breaking formation. Some ships were turning to fire on others. Chaos had erupted. We need to get back to the Nemesis, James told his team. Then he looked at Thomas. You should come with us. I think your leadership has just been challenged. The Admiral hesitated, then nodded sharply. My security detail comes too. As they raced back to the docking bay, the space station shook from nearby explosions. Coalition ships were firing on each other now, those loyal to Thomas fighting against those who wanted to continue the war. Atlas, James called as they boarded the Nemesis. Status report. 42% of coalition forces appear to be following hardliners who reject peace talks, the AI replied. They are targeting both us and ships loyal to Admiral Thomas. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. Once on the command deck, Thomas stared at the battle unfolding on the screens. Those fools, he muttered. They'll destroy everything. We can stop this, James said. Together. Atlas, can you open a channel to all ships in the area? Both sides need to hear this. The AI complied, and James gestured for Thomas to join him. This is Admiral Thomas, the alien commander began. To all coalition forces, stand down immediately. This war ends today. Some ships stopped firing, but many continued their attack. A massive cruiser was heading straight for the Nemesis, weapons charging. They won't listen, Thomas said grimly. The hardliners would rather die than admit humans deserve equality. James looked at Atlas's blue light. Options. I have been developing a non-lethal shutdown system, the AI replied. It would temporarily disable all weapons and propulsion systems in range. However, I cannot guarantee it won't cause some ships to crash into each other. James looked at Thomas. Your call, Admiral. These are your people. Thomas stared at the battle, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Finally, he nodded. Do it. Save as many as you can. Atlas, proceed, James ordered. The Nemesis began to pulse with energy, unlike anything they had seen before. Waves of soft blue light spread outward, washing over ship after ship. As each wave hit, the affected vessels went dark, weapons powering down, engines shutting off. Within minutes, the entire battlefield had gone silent. Hundreds of ships floated powerless, their crews unharmed but unable to continue fighting. What did you do to them? Thomas asked in wonder. Atlas shut down their systems, Linda explained. They're all alive, just taking a timeout. Now they'll listen, James said. Atlas, open communication channels to all ships. Emergency power only, so they can hear us but not fight. With all eyes on him, James addressed the combined fleets. This is Captain James Anderson of Earth. Today, you have a choice. Continue a war that will end with more destruction, more death on both sides, or join us in building something better. The HSS Nemesis could destroy your remaining forces. You've seen what we can do. But instead, we offer peace. Admiral Thomas stepped forward. As leader of coalition forces, I accept this offer. The war is over. Let us build a new alliance, based on respect rather than fear. A cheer went up from the Nemesis crew. After a year of fighting, of running, of countless battles, it was finally over. Over the next hours, the Nemesis used its technology to safely restart each coalition ship. Most accepted the peace terms immediately. A few hardliners were taken into custody by Thomas's loyal forces. As the day ended, James stood alone in the Nemesis observation deck, watching the coalition world below. Soon, Earth representatives would arrive to formalize the peace agreement. The galaxy would enter a new era. Captain, Atlas's voice came softly through the speakers. May I join you? Of course, James replied. A holographic figure appeared beside him, a tall, blue-tinged human shape. It was the first time Atlas had created a visual form for itself. I thought this might be easier for conversation. The AI explained. I wanted to thank you, Captain. Thank me. For what? For teaching me that power without mercy is meaningless. I was designed as a weapon, but you showed me how to be more. How to protect rather than destroy. James smiled. You learned quickly. As did humanity. The galaxy expected you to seek revenge. Instead, you offered peace. Together, they watched as the first diplomatic ships from Earth arrived. The war that had nearly destroyed humanity had ended not with a final battle, but with words of peace. The HSS Nemesis, the warship that had made the entire galaxy surrender, had accomplished its mission. Not through fear, but through something much more powerful: hope.